Hello, friends. Welcome to this month's ritual and ritual recording. I feel like I need to take lots of deep breaths. Um, and of course, it's really perfect to have rage as our word, as our medicine word theme this month. Rage is certainly something uh maybe a lot of us feel it right now. Maybe a lot of us are channeling it in many different ways. It's kind of hard to talk about what's happening in the world right now because so much has been going on and compounding for so long that rage feels like a pretty realistic reaction, right? With that said, um, and as I shared in the prompts over on Patreon, rage can also be medicine when we are acknowledging it and integrating it fully, not just using that raw material like, clay until it's processed and put into that way that it can be maneuvered and made malleable. Clay itself is not useful until it kind of it goes through that sieve, that experience, right? And I want to kind of phrase when we're talking about the color of rage, thinking of rage, it's very much the same, right? This is not anything different. This is actually very in alignment. Um, so, with that said, we're going to be channeling emotions with ritual, specifically kind of thinking of that energy, that energetic shift in a way that connects with color. Of course, it's been a while since I have shared just talking about art as ritual, these reminders. Art as ritual is all about focusing on the process, not the product that comes from it. So before we even begin to dive in, I want to remind us of that reframe and how important it is, especially when we're working with such a quote unquote ugly emotion, right? Or ugly feeling. Of course, no emotion is good or bad, it's all neutral, but it can feel in a way, it can be processed in a way that is ugly. But just as we say, there is no good or bad art here, it is only what it is. That is the same with emotions. So in this sacred space, we are creating as an act of surrender. That is okay. Things are neither good or bad. They simply are experiences, much like emotions. There is really ugly art is so objective, subjective, whatever. Um, but it's okay to make ugly art and have big feelings and emotions. Rage is a big feeling. That is for certain. It is not a small thing that takes up a little bit of space. It's a pretty big one. So how we respond is the true medicine. So take that as an invitation to give grace to any emotions or experiences that you might have with the materials you choose to use. And again, you can use any materials for this ritual or any art ritual. That being said, I highly recommend you grab a pen and pencil, paper, whatever you might want to do, because we will be doing journaling prompts. But as far as like what materials you want to use for the art making itself, as always, follow your heart, follow your intuition. What comes up for you is sacred in its uniqueness. So in this journey, if you wanted to use clay, go with a polymer clay that follows the color of rage for you. And again, we're going to talk about color. We're going to only use one color or try to. That's the intention, but please remember also there is no right or wrong here. These are really just guides. Ultimately, the guides are here to give you a structure from which to break out of. So if you are wanting to really indulge in some more expansive, just exploration, always do what feels good first. I think it's Yoga with Adriene. She talks about find what feels good. And this is the same. Find what feels good. If what I'm saying doesn't actually feel good for you, of course, skip it. This is a recording, so you have every agency needed to make the choices you need to make that make you feel better in your body. That will always be the best way to go, right? So let's just talk intention. And let's take a deep breath in. Like just let's reconfigure, right? We got our little reminders and thoughts. Let's just take a moment. Let's stretch for a second. Stretch how in a way that feels good. Loosen up. Stand up and stretch if you need to. Let's take a deep breath in with a straight back. Ah. Inhale into the nose. And let it out. Our intention today, understand rage as a sacred teacher. Let's hold that in for a second with a breath. Inhale with that thought. And let it out with a sigh. Understand rage as a sacred teacher. It is okay to feel rage. It is what we do with these feelings that matters, that has either a good or bad connotation, right? The emotions themselves are neutral. If you need to hear that out loud again, say it to yourself. The feelings themselves are neutral. It doesn't mean that certain emotions don't hurt, but this connotation that there are good or bad emotions, make sure to slough that off and to understand rage as a sacred emotion or a sacred teacher. Let's continue with this intention. To understand rage as a sacred teacher, one that will open up and be known in a way that best serves us. We are all connected in the collective, but how we experience is individualistic, what we feel and how we express it, right? Let's take another deep breath in here, in through the nose. Hold it at the top. Feel your breath, feel your heart. Exhale and sigh. Understand rage as a sacred teacher, one that will open up and be known in a way that best serves us. That is the intention here. And with that said, however that looks on your paper, on canvas, with your art materials, that is a distinctly, succinctly experience that is uniquely yours, right? Settle into that, your experience, your channeling, your connection is sacred. So rage as the teacher today. Will open up and be known in a way that best serves us on an individual level for collective healing. We do not live in a vacuum. The yes and we also know it on an individual level. It looks different on an individual level, right? Let's continue. Let's kind of talk about what is rage. And as I am kind of talking, I would like to invite you to already start to do a little journaling and write out in your journal. I've already started to write a few little bits and bobs on my piece of paper. I pulled a card before, so I'm already, I want to invite you to join me as we begin this process to write out a list of synonyms you think of for the word rage. What other words do you associate with it? What other powerful phrases? Like, just start to kind of open that up as I go over that, right? So Webster's dictionary defines it as very strong and uncontrolled anger. Related to anger, an intense feeling of passion. And I want to highlight that last word as a supporter. Passion. We are here in the creative space. Rage, perhaps as a manifestation of not just anger, but passion. Passion informs us of what we do. How can we frame this to support us and understand how to channel rage? And I say that because rage can be destructive. Rage can be incredibly overwhelming. It can lead us to making choices that are not necessarily the ones we would make long term, but in the moment, in that passion, we lose sight our intentions, right? Or maybe we feel so blocked and so overwhelmed of this emotion, we don't do anything. Which do we struggle with, right? Do we shut down with rage? Do we go too far with our rage? Are we channeling our emotions, this heavy emotion, in a way that supports and informs? And that is a hard thing, especially now in this world that we are in these very, very real spaces. There's really no way around it. And as I record this, just minutes, hours prior, rage was enacted through an assassination attempt. And that gives me a lot of pause about how to talk about rage tonight, honestly, because yes, rage can be a teacher just as much as it can be a destructive force, right? When our rage is channeled in certain ways, right? Rage also comes from a place of feeling of dire straits, right? Of intense passion, right? So tonight the invitation is to really reflect on that. And I hope you've already started to make your list and made some noticeable connections, right? Just on a personal level. What comes up for you? What words are connected and are already kind of swimming in your heart space here? As we think about this word as a teacher, what are we here to learn? That is an individual question we must ask. What are we here to learn with this, right? What can rage teach us? Rage is a teacher. Let's take some journaling around these questions specifically. So I'm going to put on some music as we do some journaling. And of course, as always, if you want to mute this, pause this, and just put on your rage music, please do that. Whatever, this is your time of expression, right? We all have different ways of channeling. So what can we fully get out of it? Here are our questions, and I apologize for the extra is in the third bulletin. What did you do with this rage? Not what is do. What is did. When has your rage come from a place of hurt? What were the circumstances that led to this hurt? And if it's necessary to take your time, please, to really feel into these, maybe even just do one. Come back to this. These are kind of like really deep questions. So what you feel comfortable doing, of course, always do that. As I said, I'm going to put on some music and check back with you soon. But what type of hurt has triggered rage? Let me just keep going over these. What type of hurt has triggered rage? So shame, disappointment, anxiety, etc. What did you do with this rage? What was the result of this overall experience with rage? What was the outcome? Was it a positive or negative action? Actions can be positive and negative. Emotions are simply experiences. There's no positive or negative. There's no good or bad. Just like in art, ritual, there is no good or bad art. There simply is. But actions certainly can fall into that binary or even the gray in between, right? Take your time here and be gentle. These questions might bring up shame, because when we act out of rage, we're not always thinking in our best space. So give yourself space to feel and release any emotions that come up. It's okay to feel. And we'll talk again soon. All right. Take a moment to zoom out. Maybe you just kind of got hit with a lot. Maybe you have trouble, right? It's okay, either way. Before we move on, I do want to just invite you to roll your shoulders out, roll out the neck, and just reset the body a little. Maybe bring some tapping to the chest to wake the heart up. Deep breaths here. I hope that part was supportive and kind of reflecting on rage, reflecting on our experience with it, so that we can kind of use that as our medicine, right? So the color wheel. We're talking about color as our channel tonight. The color wheel in art acts as a guide on how to mix colors or find harmonious color combinations for a piece of art. And tonight we're going to be using it as a tool for meditation, for coming to our own understanding of what color rage is. Rage is often described as a certain color, but as you've noticed, there's not a lot of color in this presentation because I want you to really sit with the medicine that was rage that we just journaled and really tap into what rage looks like to you, for you, to you, what color. Again, there's no right or wrong. You don't have to sit with this idea of rage being this one color, but you also don't have to go with something that's totally different when it's not intuitively right? Rage and any emotion can be any of these colors. But when we think about our experiences with those emotions, then we begin to paint a very specific picture for ourselves in our authentic experience with the medicine that is that emotion. Emotions are not good or bad, but they have things to teach us, things that we can open up and understand more because they are a part of the human experience. There is so much medicine in that experience. Yeah. So I have here today two different kind of iterations of the color wheel, kind of drop us into our meditation. I picked one because it is kind of a classic depiction of the color wheel. But I picked the other because it's a very earthy depiction of the color wheel. One has many shades. One is a little bit more straightforward. And perhaps when we relax our eyes, we meet in the middle here. Soften our gaze. Bring a little partner up with me. So let's begin our meditation. Open eyes. Just relax the eyes. Looking at your screen. Either focus on one or the other. Go with what feels good. Again, and also meet in the in-between space. Relax your vision or even take off your glasses to help shift things into the moment. Comfortable in your body, relax your vision and find stillness here. Maybe take a hand over your heart, another on your belly. Or go with what intuitively feels good. Stare where you feel called to. Allow your gaze to lie and soften. Take a deep breath here into the nose and out through the mouth. Continue this as much as you need to, taking deep breaths in through the nose and out to the mouth to soften the gaze. Continue this at your own pace and be here for a moment. Remember back to your journal, or maybe even just the synonyms you wrote down as I spoke. Think back to your last experience with rage, and I want you to kind of just think of a secondary emotion that came with that rage. Those feelings, those giant waves of emotions. What was the core? What is your trigger of rage or this? Deep with the breath, breathing in. Allowing your gaze to just be on the screen, absorbing these colors in front of you. Either focusing one, both, maybe in between space. When you feel ready, allow your eyes to close. And ask yourself with a deep breath in, what is rage here to teach me today? Exhale. And ruminate on that question. What is rage here to teach me today? Coming into a nice inhale, I want you to imagine color in your mind's eye. And when you exhale, say that word. It's yourself. Imagine that color in your third eye space on your forehead. This emotion as a sacred teacher. Take another deep inhale here. And let it out with a sigh. And back to your space. Slowly flutter the eyes open. And back. And write that word down. It would take some time to sit with that. What color came up for you? Maybe write out why. PowerPoint, but maybe you're not sure yet. But I do want to invite you when you are ready to begin creating with that, to intuitively channel a piece that represents your connection to sacred rage. Try to use only the color you pick. Maybe you picked more. There's no wrong way, just follow your heart. I'm going to leave these reminders on the screen. Then remember, you can pause here, put on any music that you like, and go for as long as you like. Feel free to follow me as I do my practice. I'm going to put on again some music as we work and check back in a little bit. Remember not to overthink them. Just rock. All right, friends. Yeah, just zoom out here. Again, if you want to keep going, take as much time as you want. I'm gonna put that as the end of my time. But I want to thank you for being here. And again, keep working, keep doing the art that you're doing, making it. But I'm going to close this out with a little gratitude. Thank you for showing up, for being vulnerable with yourself in this practice, for being brave with your emotions. Rage is a kind of scary word, right? Like, especially if you yourself have felt a lot of shame around rage, or you have been at the end of someone else's rage. There can be a lot of complex emotions here. So thank you for honoring your sacred rage and being brave with your emotions with Artist Ritual. As always, please feel free to comment or send me any messages. My name's in the link tree for other ways to contact me. And let me know how this went for you, how this experience supported you, or any feedback. I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings as well. Always. And until next time, be well.